If you found your way here, I'm going to assume you're already familiar with the indie web cartoon The Amazing Digital Circus. With the finale about to be released online, the series on Glitch's channel is sitting at over 1 billion views as of June 16th, with a historical first to boot. The screening of an indie animated internet show that premiered in theaters back on June 4th. It's an exciting progression, the first time the medium of the internet has crossed into the brick-and-mortar movie house and onto the big screen. Its popularity is well warranted. A smash hit within the week it released on YouTube, gaining 3 million views in 3 days, according to the folks over at Boing Boing. It's colorful, it's funny, and it prods at a darkness in the modern psyche that many people resonate with. In fact, the Amazing Digital Circus does more than entertain us with its bright, engaging visuals, humor, and story. It sees us, describes us, and it resounds with us. But what is it exactly about the Amazing Digital Circus that is so familiar to us? How is it we relate so strongly to what's essentially a cast of cartoon characters in a fantastical video game world? Well, the Digital Circus does feel all too familiar. The condition in which the cast exists in this place is much like all of us, thrust against our will into the absurdity of modern society, in forms we have little to no control over. Our reality is subjective, meaning is difficult to derive, and everything and nothing is real all at the same time. The digital circus is much akin to the world we live in, and we are its cast set to take the stage. The Amazing Digital Circus is, whether intentionally or not, a paramount of postmodernist thought, a reflection of our contemporary age, the mirror we gaze into and wonder just what exactly we're seeing. To start us off in this discussion, it's crucial to begin with defining postmodernism, which through my reading for this project is a lot harder to do than I initially thought. It's easier to define what postmodernism is not, giving examples of recurring principles, and going from there. Firstly, postmodernism will mean different things to different people, and that's exactly how postmodernists would prefer it. To define it is antithetical to its core concept. Postmodernism arose as a response to modernism, challenging its principles by questioning or outright rejecting the pre-established order that modernism built as far back as the Enlightenment era. These principles include the cruciality of reason, belief in progress, individual agency and freedom, access to truth, and faith in the scientific method. These sound all well and good, but the postmodernist philosophy questions knowledge and its relationship to power. Postmodernists reject grand narratives, or the idea of the universal truth, encouraging skepticism of authority. What is accepted truth can often be a reflection of those in power. It encourages the deconstruction of ideas to focus on what is excluded in order to reach a deeper meaning and understanding, questioning possible bias. According to architect Charles Jenks, postmodernism is the umbrella term for rethinking. It's about depth. Postmodernism is also greatly concerned with identity and reality, and puts a lot of focus on the multiplicity of meaning and the subjectivity of experience. Identity and reality become represented by visuals, signs, and symbols in our social media-driven world, where reality is dependent on the language and culture of the digital realm. As Jacques Baudrillard, a prominent philosopher of postmodernism, said, modern societies increasingly live among simulation, and representations become more important than reality itself. It's pretty deep thinking, with many abstracts and the necessity of acknowledging coexisting truths and perceptions. But in our modern age of internet dominance, the interconnected, the instantaneous, and the massive overload of information make this type of thinking a critical skill in navigating the world as we know it. So, how does this connect to a web cartoon? If you've been paying attention, you've already recognized ideas that manifest in Digital Circus through its story and visual themes. Our main character, Pomni, comes to in a digital world against her will, a bright, colorful, lively place that looks much like the kids' computer games of the 90s. Unable to remember who she is, how she got there, and desperately wanting to find a way out, she struggles with common concepts of postmodernist thought, existential discordance, and the search for reality and meaning. We see this in other characters as well. The fourth wall breaking, ironic Jax who responds to the digital circus with detachment, sarcasm, and mockery. Zubul and their fragmented, ever-changing body, and their defiance of the established order by refusing to play along. And Kane, the ringmaster AI, whose unstable authority is repeatedly questioned and undermined by the cast as they attempt to find meaning in their abject situation. That is to say, the characters of the Amazing Digital Circus represent us in our contemporary world, as we struggle to find meaning and truth in a reality that continues to be fragmented by a vast variety of language, culture, and perspectives. It asks us a recurring question in the story. Does something need to be real to matter? And I'm of the impression that the Amazing Digital Circus answers that question for us. In a scene before the characters believe they'll finally be able to escape the circus, Zubul and another character, Gangle, converse about their concerns on whether or not they'll still be friends on the outside.
Are we still gonna be friends when we're out there?
Why wouldn't we be?
It's just gonna be strange. I've only known you like this. Will it be the same when it's real?
It always was real. Everything we felt, everything we've done, everything we are. It'll never leave us. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Thank you for always being there when I need it.
What it's really telling us is that we don't need an established order to validate our realities. If it's real to you, then it's real and has meaning. This leans into Jacques-François Lyotard's idea of questioning established truths and the acknowledgement of alternative perspectives. Another major example of this idea comes in the second episode, where Pomni meets an NPC that becomes self-aware, has an existential crisis, which she comforts him and talks him through. Pomni grows attached to this NPC, extends an invitation to him to join the cast of the circus, and that his care of those he knows is more human than he understands. This theme of what it means to be authentic, to be human, repeats itself throughout the rest of the story. With such success as the Amazing Digital Circus has gotten, it's safe to assume it has had a great influence on the millions of people who have watched it. As Glitch CEO Luke Lerdwichagall shared with YouTube's official blog, YouTube is like the TV homepage for a lot of people. From its early start with a pilot that gained millions of views within its first week, to the groundbreaking finale debuting on the big screen in theaters around the world, the Amazing Digital Circus has done something that few other web shows, or even shows in general, have done. Crafting a story rich in contemporary themes, it manages to be poignantly timely with postmodern ideas on identity, fragmented and simulated realities, and what meaning we can find in a world like this. All this while simultaneously touching at the timeless qualities of what makes us human. A surreal romp through psychological turmoil and an involuntary quest to make sense and significance of the nonsensical and often meaningless, the Amazing Digital Circus sees us and reminds us of what's important so as to not lose ourselves.